What is going on, folks? Pete Nova here with Fast Draft. And today we're going to talk about a couple of players that I think you can take advantage of if you are an early drafter like myself, right here on the Fast Draft channel. What is going on, folks? Pete Nova here, and super excited to be back and talk about a couple of players that I think right now in the Rabbit tournament are severely mispriced, and they're probably mispriced in other best ball and redraft formats if you are an early drafter. There's a lot of advantages, in my opinion, to drafting this early in the year. There's a lot of mispriced players. You have the impending, free agencies coming up, and so there are guys that don't have landing spots just yet. And so if you're banking on them getting a good landing spot or a bullish landing spot, you can take advantage if you are drafting right now today. And let's talk about it. There are a few guys. The first guy we're going to talk about is going to be Romeo Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs of the Green Bay Packers. He is an impending free agent. And if you look on Fast Draft ADP right now, for the Rabbit draft, he's wide receiver 59 off the board. 141.81 is his current spot. Now, in the Rabbit draft, there's 15 rounds. So 10 players, 15 rounds, 150 total picks. So we're talking about a player that's going at the 56.8% of the time in Romeo Dobbs. And I'm very excited about Dobbs to see where he goes. He's 25.8 years old. He was a fourth round pick in 2022. And it looks like the Green Bay Packers are just not going to be able to hang on to this guy. When you factor in that, he's on a team and in a room that employs Christian Watson. Jaden Reed is on a contract year this year, and they also spent the first round pick at the position in Matthew Golden. Now, if they keep Romeo Dobbs and pay up, which I think he'll make somewhere around 16 to 18 million, maybe even a little bit more. It's a very, very weak wide receiver class. If they pay Romeo Dobbs, that signals to me that maybe they're a little bit concerned about Matthew Golden and after getting him in the building for a year, maybe they have a little bit of hesitations, or maybe they have hesitations saying that they don't think they're going to keep Jaden Reed in this contract year once this season's over. And so maybe they keep Dobbs, but I'm going to be banking that they do not keep Dobbs. And the nice thing about Dobbs is he's pretty versatile. He can play outside and at that X position at 6'2". He can beat press off the line of scrimmage. He's decently physical for a guy his size. Coming off of a year where he played 16 games, 85 targets, 55 receptions, 724 receiving yards. He had 6 total touchdowns this year and 13.2 yards per catch. He averaged 10.3 points in fantasy football. He is a very, very nice floor raiser. He's not the most exciting player, but if he gets to a team with a good offense that plays with good timing and rhythm, I think Dobbs could be a very, very nice beneficiary and a good piece to an offense that has that kind of play. When you look at some of his advanced metrics, I mean, red zone target share, 15th in the NFL with 24.6%. He doesn't have a lot of gaudy numbers that jump off the screen. First downs per route run, he was 17th in the NFL, 0.105, which equates to like 10%, 10.5% of his routes run were first downs. And that's encouraging. That's a guy, and if you've watched Romeo Dobbs, he's a chain mover, right? He's a player that can move the chains and keep the offense on the field and going. And so I think Romeo Dobbs is a player that can absolutely be targeted. I think once he signs with another team, he's going to go up in ADP. So I don't expect him to stay here at his current cost. And when you look at some of the players around Romeo Dobbs, look, you have Travis Hunter. I totally understand the upside swing with him. We'll pull up the screen again really quick. You have Travis Hunter. I get taking a chance on him. I wouldn't mind getting exposure to him here too. At this current cost, that's very, very nice. Alvin Kamara is also an interesting guy. We talked about him 2 weeks ago. He's now 34.1% owned. He was less than 5% owned when we jumped on 2 weeks ago, and I talked about him, and now he's jumped up to 34.1%. So it seems like people are catching on to his cost being so low. Kamani Vidal is another nice guy in this range here where Romeo Dobbs goes. But when you look at wide receivers, you could take a chance on like a Brandon Ayuk, maybe. I could totally understand the case for that. But especially if you're looking, it's a two flex format with the Rabbits. So the nice thing is you can pair a guy like Romeo Dobbs up with a team that's maybe, has some younger receivers like a Jordan Tyson or, you know, a receiver that you think maybe could take a little bit of time to get going and maybe it takes the back half of the year. And so you get a floor raiser, right? The fact that it's two flex that helps you kind of raise that floor up. And he's a player that I'm definitely targeting in this format. I definitely like where he's going at his cost. The next player that we're going to talk about today is going to be Rashad White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you follow me, you know I'm a big fan of Rashad White, 27 years old, not the most efficient running back on the ground. But he did come off of a year where he's consistently scoring touchdowns, being utilized in the pass game, and he's going to be a free agent as well. It's a theme here with these two players. This is a player that's going to go to a new team, a new home, and I think NFL teams are going to like what he brings skill set wise. He's a veteran. He can pass block better than most running backs in the NFL. He's got very good hands, very reliable hands, so he can be that third down back. And he can also be that goal line back, right? That guy that teams put in, in fourth, at the 5 yard line and in to go get those tough yards to score touchdowns. Like he's made a living being able to do that. And when we look at his total touchdowns, a little bit of a dip last year, just four, but 9 and 9 in back-to-back years before that. And you look at the receptions. I mean, 40 receptions, 51, 64, 50. This is a guy that catches a lot of passes, and he doesn't need to have this gaudy, rushing attempts right here. We saw in 2024, he's able to, put up 12.5 points per game. Of course, the touchdowns helped and the receptions helped, but we know he's going to catch the football, right? And the touchdowns aren't always the stickiest thing, but skill set wise, a guy at his age that's going to be reliable, going to be on the field, and is going to catch passes and get rushes at the goal line. That's the type of player I like to look at later rounds at the running back position, outside of like really, really high end handcuffs. When we look at his numbers, right? Not an explosive back. That you don't need to know that, right? I mean, we know Rashad White is not a gaudy, guy that's going to pop, but routes run. I mean, 12th in the NFL last year. And I get it. Bucky Irving was missing time. But even the year before that, he was third in routes run. This is a guy in fourth in routes participation. And I get it. Bucky Irving didn't start the entire year as a rookie last year, but I think Rashad White is a player that should be, taken advantage of right now, in these drafts, in these formats. And he's a guy that I'm also buying in Dynasty. I'm banking on him going to a nice landing spot. Maybe he gets to go to the Washington Commanders. I know he's got that relationship with Jaden Daniels. I wouldn't be as in love with him with that landing spot, to be completely honest with you. But I also think he has a chance to take over as the number one back if he did go there. I wouldn't be sitting here telling you that I'm worried about Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt and that he's going to have a stranglehold on the position even if Rashad White came in. So I think Rashad White's a guy that's priced pretty well. When we take a look at where he's at, he goes off the board at 153. And right now he's also, going off as RB 51. So 31.8% of the time he is drafted in the Rabbit format. And he's a player that I'm taking advantage of. Look, James Conner is a guy that goes behind him. Until we hear some good reports on Conner with the knee, I'm a little bit skeptical to go out and spend on James Conner right now, though I do love me some James Conner, just obviously pretty unfortunate. And then some other guys around him. I'm not interested in Tyreek Hill. I'm not interested in taking a chance on Mac Jones at this point in the process. Mendoza, I can understand it if you have Brock Bowers and you want to stack. But there's just not a lot of guys. Tyrone Tracy is an interesting fella. If you're banking on Scadaboo, maybe, not getting that lion's share, but there's just not a lot of these guys are players that I want to bank on. And Rashad White just feels like a player that you're going to get good volume out of, who's been a reliable veteran. So I really like Rashad White in this format. And if you're Interested kind of in rookies at this time of the year. We do have the Origins format over on Fast Draft with the combine coming up. It's a lot of fun. Get some skin in the game with the rookies instead of just doing mock drafts. You can see where market sentiment is at. It'll be a lot of fun once the combine goes off to see where players have shifted up and down on the board. And you can check that right here on Fast Draft.
Rookie draft season is now, and you know that because on Fast Draft, we have the Origins tournament. That's right, the first, way too early, all rookie tournament is live. There's a $10,000 prize pool. Start practicing for your rookie drafts and leverage your knowledge of rookies by winning cash. And given that it's close to 50% full, if not already well beyond 50% full, a lot of those drafts included players that actually did not come out. So every draft that happens from here until this thing fills, you're getting positive EV. So go to fastdraft.app, get the app, and sign up with your host promo code for a $50 deposit match, or use code FAST. Fast Draft is the next hot fantasy game, so get out there and start drafting faster.
So the next guy we're going to talk about is not the sexiest name. It's not the sexiest player. It's Colby Parkinson. And I'm taking advantage of what the Rams like to do, and that's throw the football to the tight end position. If you noticed what Sean McVay in this offense did, they ran a lot of 13 personnel. And if you're familiar with 13 personnel, that is 3 tight ends on the field and 1 running back. And right now with the Rams, this is kind of something they've shifted towards a lot this year, having at least 2 tight ends on the field. And so I'm excited to draft Colby Parkinson in this Rams offense. Matthew Stafford is a pretty cheap quarterback to stack with Colby Parkinson. And I'm targeting him, right? Colby Parkinson goes off the board as tight end 26. He's going drafted in 2.3% of leagues right now. And Matthew Stafford is a cheap player too. I mean, this Rams team is a team to take advantage of. Terrence Ferguson, who's the young tight end from last year. I get it. I was very high on Terrence Ferguson coming into fantasy rookie drafts. I still have him stashed. I'm still high on him. Tight end is always going to be a position where there's fantasy points to be had. When you look at in the Rams offense, when you look at like Denver with running backs and Sean Payton's system, there's always points to be had to the running back position. With the Rams, there's always points to be had with the tight end position. The problem with the Rams is it's always just been spread out. They haven't had that alpha, that big dog who comes in and just becomes that vacuum where they're just eating and eating and eating targets. Tyler Higbee is on his way out, right? Terrence Ferguson, Colby Parkinson, those guys step up. And Ferguson, the market is banking on him making that step up. But Matthew Stafford is a quarterback who is going outside of the top 100 picks. He's 106. So if you get into a situation where you're looking for a stack in this tournament, you go get Matthew Stafford as maybe your second quarterback if you don't land Puka or Devontae Adams or maybe Kyron Williams or Blake Corum, right? You get Matthew Stafford and you can pair him up with a cheap tight end like Colby Parkinson, right? If you are going to the cheap route with quarterback and tight end for your second stack, that is a very nice build and a build that I'm looking to target. Colby Parkinson, when we look at what he did down the stretch, right, against Seattle in the playoffs, he had 4 targets, 3 catches for 62 yards. Then the week before that, Chicago in the playoffs, 7 catches, 1 red zone target. 7 targets, 1 red zone target, 3 catches, 56 yards, then 3 targets, 2 catches, 1 touchdown. And then the game before that, Arizona week 18, he had 2 touchdowns. He had from week 17 to week 21, he had 3 games with 7 targets. Heck, if you go back to week 15, he had another game of 7 targets. So really week 15 to week 21, this guy had 4 games of 7 targets in a total of 7 weeks. I mean, we know that this offense likes to target tight ends, and Colby Parkinson was pretty good. And I'm targeting him. I know I've said it before. I'll say it again. I mean, this is a guy that you take with your last pick. You can easily stack him with Matthew Stafford in that Rams stack. And he's a guy that I'm targeting in early drafts right now at the moment, while the rest of the market kind of flocks to Terrence Ferguson, who I happen to like, and I'd love to see him pop off and do well. But again, like I said, there is points to go around in this offense to the tight end position because they like to spread it around and they like to get those guys fed early and often. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're not already. We got more content coming out with myself and Wyatt right here on the Fast Draft channel.